G'day and welcome back to Amaze TV. My name's Neen James. I'm an impact and an influence strategist, and I got to say something to all of you who've been watching along. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for the comments you've been writing, and make sure you write comments below after this one because I know you're going to love my guest today. One of the things I promised you as part of Amaze TV is not just strategies of how to be amazing, but how I'm impacted and influenced by the people in my life who I think are amazing. And today, joining us is a woman who I think is truly amazing. Now, you all know I spell it with an H, A-H-M-A-Z-I-N-G, and here's why. There are people in my life where I go, like, of course. Misty is one of those women. See, this woman who you are going to meet today is a phenomenally accomplished woman. She had a great corporate career. She's an incredibly dedicated mom, a gorgeous, gorgeous wife, and she's also one of the very key components of a company that I absolutely love called Social Connects. It is my privilege that on a weekly basis I get to play with Misty, and I thought today I would expose you to some of her brilliance. So welcome to Amaze TV, Misty. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, thanks. I'm so excited to be here.
So let's just chat about what your take is on amazing. You've been on this journey with me. You know that this is something I'm really passionate about. I believe that every day we need to have more impact and influence in the world, and that's what it is like for me about being amazing. So maybe you could share with the people who are watching today who've been some influences in your life.
I think influences can be good and bad. I think we have a lot to learn from both of them. And two of the biggest influences that I've had in my life was a mentor of mine who taught me a lot about life, a lot about being professional, but he also taught me a lot about myself and my tolerance and what I'm willing to put up with as a person. And he was a former senior vice president of mine that I worked for, and for the sake of it, I'll name names, but you know, he taught me everything there is to know about corporate America and politics and dealing with the good old boys club. But at the same time, I also was very influenced by his methods and learned very quickly who I was, what I liked, what I didn't like, what about his style that I didn't like. And I've always been so grateful, even though it was a very hard lesson, I've been so grateful about learning that lesson from him. And, you know, I just feel like he influenced me so much in really carving out who I was professionally.
Right.
Now, the second person that I will name names, her name is Therese, and she's my best friend, and she has been for ages now. I felt like I was a very naive individual coming out of college and just trying to get my feet on the ground and figure out who I was personally. And she kind of latched hold of me. She was my big sister, and she taught me to branch out and try new things. I was so stuck in a little rut of my little small town that I grew up in and what I was supposed to be doing, and I was supposed to be, you know, what ladylike was supposed to mean and what Southern was supposed to mean, and she taught me to throw all of that to the wind and just define it yourself. And before I knew it, she had me on the back of a Harley Davidson, teaching classes, writing, loving it, you know, getting my hands dirty, and just completely redefining what being a lady, being a professional, being a person really was. So, you know, kudos to her. She's amazing.
You know, it's interesting, so many of the people who will be watching today, some things that I would take away from that is the importance of mentors. You know, if we want to be more amazing, we have to look at the people who we allow to influence our own life. And I know in my own journey, I've had phenomenal mentors, and I still do, and I seek them out regularly. But the second thing I think is the importance of someone who's really got your back, your best friend, the person who you can totally be yourself with. Last night my best friend and I were together at a movie. I won't tell you which movie, but we laughed so hard. I mean, it was insane, and there's something really cool about that. But what's also really powerful about the relationship I have with my best friend is when she speaks, I listen. she has the right to speak into my life, and she always has the best of intentions. So if she gives me some feedback, I listen. If she gives me a suggestion, I listen. And while we don't need a lot of those people in our life, we need those VIPs, those very inspiring people, which we talked about in episode 1. And so having a mentor and a best friend, I think they're 2 vital influences in your life. Now, I know someone that you just light up when you talk about him. Whenever you have the opportunity to talk about your dad, I love hearing stories about your daddy. Tell me more about the role and the influence he's had on your life.
My dad, and I know I've mentioned to you this before, and I may even tear up a little bit talking about it, because he does. I just light up. I just light up. He is absolutely, hands down, one of the most influential people in my life. And I have told him all the time, I threaten him really, that after he dies and he's gone, I'm going to write a book about him and all of his insane stories that no one would otherwise believe were true. Dad really has come so far. So a little bit about my dad and why he is such an influence that he is on me. My dad has 12 siblings. He was the oldest of all of them. He grew up with the family, or in a family, that did not have an education. He himself ended up dropping out of high school his freshman, I believe it was the end of his freshman year in high school, to help raise his brothers and sisters. Mm-hmm. He grew up on a farm. And, you know, they struggled. They struggled a lot. They, by no means, had wealth as we would define it today. And with, you know, no education, everything that he's really learned, he had to teach himself. But it's talking about the power of the human spirit and the power of a positive attitude. Over the years, he taught himself a lot. He learned a lot of valuable lessons. He made a lot of mistakes. But unlike most people, when we make mistakes, we're so quick to blame others or shift that energy somewhere else. He really owned it, and he really learned from it, and he grew with it. So fast forward now, my dad is 68 years old, and he has gone from essentially nothing, where you know, everything that he owned could have fit in the back of a car. And there were times that, you know, he talks about having holes in the bottom of his shoes and not even knowing from one night to the next where he was going to lay his head down. To now, my dad owns quite the plantation down in South Texas, you name it, and what he wants, he has. And it's not just about the tangible goods. It's not just about what we can afford to buy, but it's the work ethic that he's brought with it. He knows beyond a shadow of a doubt that every night when he lays his head on his pillow that he made the most ethical choices that he could make, that his choices and his decisions did not hurt anybody in the making of them, and that he was honest and put his money where his mouth is, and really believed that when he gave somebody his handshake, his word, that was his word. And so he has influenced me so much in my life to operate by those same standards, and to realize we're not defined by what we own. We're not defined by how much money we make. We're certainly not defined by the education we have. I mean, we have some of the most brilliant minds in the world are some of the stupidest people that are out there. So the biggest thing that we have to learn is, who are we? Right. And when our time on this planet is over, what are people going to say about us when we're gone? Right. And what is that legacy that we're going to leave behind? And that's why I light up so much with my dad, is how can someone go through so many hardships, right, and come out on the other end of it, having what he has, having learned what he has, and having the attitude that he has to go along with it. That's so. Yeah, he's my love. He's my inspiration. I am so just. I just love my dad. Love him.
Thank you. And I will look forward to that book, because I've heard some of the adventures of your dad, so I can only imagine what's in the pages. And I think that's a really good reminder, though, to people. You know, if you still have a parent on this planet, your mom, your dad, or someone who took care of you, if you still have them on this planet, then call them. Make time to call your mom. Make time to call your dad. And, you know, families as we know it are not necessarily blood families anymore. I have, like, an American family. I have an Australian family. And I think it's people that have had an influence in your life. So today, can I just encourage you, as one of your actions from this particular episode of Amaze TV, is reach out to someone who has influenced you, and just let them know that. Like, remind them and just take a few minutes today just to say thanks for that. That's what I would love you to do. So, Misty, I admire you for so many reasons. And you're always positive, and you're always fun, and I love the Google Plus Hangouts we do, and I love how you take care of me with my social media through Social Connects. And I have personal mantras, and I know you do, and I just wonder, is there something that you say every day to yourself, or a mantra that you have that you could share with our viewers that might also impact them?
I do, and it's funny that you ask, because it's a mantra that most of us probably all heard and probably have read it completely differently than I do. And it's the saying that this too shall pass. So often we hear this too shall pass, and we automatically assume it has something to do with negativity, whatever pain we're going through at that point, or whatever patience we're enduring. I kind of look at it just the opposite. There's times I get flustered or frustrated, or, I need that moment of patience or peace, and I say, okay, this too shall pass, breathe, get through it. But the biggest thing, the reason I tell myself this every day, is I see my 3 little kids sitting around a table, or my husband trotting out the house in his uniform, and I think to myself in those little bitty, just gracious moments to embrace it, because this too shall pass. Yeah. And one of these days, we're going to be on the other side of it, looking back, only wishing we could have embraced those moments, only wishing we could have that moment to complain that there's too much laundry to do, or complain that the errands are killing me, or the kids' school events are killing me, or there's not enough time in the day, or why is it always on my shoulders? Just remember that this too shall pass. And when it does, what are you going to have at the end of it to look back on and remember? Did you give that moment everything you had? Did you give that moment the biggest smile that you could muster up? Did you take mental pictures of that moment? Because it too shall pass.
What a great reminder. Whenever I share the keynote, Be Amazing, Create Moments That Matter, so often when I talk to audience members after I've shared that keynote, is those little moments like what you're talking about, that they remember, that are magical. And I think that's a really great reminder to our viewers that today, those little moments, I think there's magic in the moment. And so it's about creating more significant moments so that that really matters. Because we all know that we've got to embrace what matters. So I love that. This too shall pass. I'm going to look at it so differently now next time I hear someone say that. If you could give our viewers just one tip on how they could be more amazing today, what would it be?
Stop comparing yourself to others.
Oh, just such good advice.
I am a very spiritual person, and people who know me know that my faith runs deep. And I do genuinely believe that every single one of us was created differently for a reason. I mean, could you imagine how boring life would be if we all looked alike, if we all dressed alike, if we all had the same figure, if we all had the same stuff, if we all had the same careers, if we all had enough. Don't compare yourself to someone. You don't genuinely know what that person's been through, what they're going through, what it took to get there. Yeah. And you never know. There might be something you have that they look at and only wish and dream that they could. Yeah. So just embrace what you have, and if there's something else that you desire to be or that you desire to achieve, go after that, but don't compare yourself to someone else. Just embrace what you have. It's so beautiful, and it's so fleeting, and we're just, it's a blessing. So embrace it. Embrace what you have. Stop comparing yourself.
Good advice. Thank you so much for being part of today. For any of our regular viewers, you know that in order for you to be amazing, that is, be in awe and wonder on a daily basis and create more influence and impact, it's about embracing what matters. It's about honoring your uniqueness, exactly like what Misty is talking about. It's conquering the world. Sometimes in our busy worlds, that's 15 minutes at a time. But it's also about truly creating more significance and understanding what that looks like in the moment. Now, if you loved our conversation today, there's a couple things I'd like you to do. I would love you to reach out to someone who's been influential in your life and just remind them and say thanks. I would love you to share comments below about what you thought about this video, and feel free to share it with anyone else, because we love how this is spreading and we love, love, love your feedback. But what I'd also love you to do is give a virtual round of applause for one of my most favorite, my only guest so far, episode 3. Misty, thank you for being part of Amaze TV today. It is such a privilege to share time with you. Thanks to all our viewers and have a fabulous day. And remember today, choose to be amazing.